what we're talking about now is, I think, this constant attack on Meghan Markle, is that there's this idea of what a royal princess should be, which is a British white aristocrat. Let's just be honest about it. And I think a lot of the attacks on Meghan Markle are pretty racist. You know, she's being singled out in a way that no other princess is being singled out, constantly under attack. And actually, I'll say this as well, you know, as someone who, as I've noted, I would prefer head of state, she's actually quite a big threat to people like me, because if the royal family is going to stay popular with a new generation, then they need to change, they need to modernise, they need to reflect and look a bit more like the public they represent.
Lizzie.
So actually, you know...
Can I say this? So I think Meghan Markle wants it both ways. She's asked for privacy, and the next thing you see her at a basketball match lifting up little outfits for Archie, and then she's editing magazines. And I just think... You know, you can't have it both ways. You can't take 2.4 million of the taxpayers' money to do up their cottage. It rubs people up the wrong way.
And Meghan, now the Duchess of Sussex, had only been married into the royal family for a short while, but the press had already built a relentless campaign of hostility and criticism around her every move, scrutinizing her actions constantly. It wasn't just criticism in the usual sense. It was something uglier, something far more insidious and persistent. And Owen Jones, a political commentator unafraid to tell the truth, cut through the noise and said what millions of people were thinking but the media refused to admit. A lot of the bad press directed at Meghan was, in fact, pretty racist. It's not easy to say that on a mainstream platform, especially one like The Jeremy Vine Show, where guests often tiptoe around uncomfortable truths. But Owen didn't tiptoe around. He called it out, and by doing so, he held up a mirror to the reality of how Meghan had been treated from the moment she stepped into the public eye. And yet, in contrast, Lizzie Cundy, long a mouthpiece for shallow tabloid talking points, argued that Meghan simply rubbed people up the wrong way. Her reasoning? Meghan wanted privacy while still enjoying the privileges of being royal. That, according to her, was the great sin, wanting privacy. How dare Meghan want boundaries and a private life, while still being part of an institution built on spectacle, tradition, and constant public attention? But this critique quickly falls apart the moment you scratch even a little beneath the surface. Every choice she made, whether it was how she held her baby bump, whether she closed her car door, or whether she served avocado on toast, was turned into a scandal. The press narrative wasn't simply about her role as a duchess, it was about diminishing her humanity and making her every action seem controversial. This is why Owen's words matter so much and why they resonate with so many people. When he said the coverage was pretty racist, he was pointing to the undeniable double standards and systemic bias at play. Kate Middleton could do the exact same thing, cradle her pregnancy bump, wear an off-the-shoulder dress, or close a car door, and it would be framed as graceful, elegant, and relatable by the media and the public. Meghan did the same things and was vilified for being attention-seeking, disrespectful, or breaking protocol. That's not a coincidence. That's not just tough press coverage. That's systemic bias at work. Instead of embracing her, the press weaponized her difference, turning it into a spectacle of cruelty and relentless scrutiny. The argument Lizzie Cundy makes, that Meghan rubbed people the wrong way by wanting privacy while living a privileged life, isn't just shallow, it's actually dishonest. Let's look at the facts. Meghan and Harry, they repeatedly said they were more than willing to serve the monarchy, to support the royal family in any way they could. What they resisted was the non-stop intrusion of a relentless tabloid press that, camped outside their homes, hounded their friends, and printed racist dog whistles that painted Meghan as different, as other, in the eyes of the public. How could anyone begrudge a woman the right to protect her mental health, her child, and her own well-being and her marriage from that relentless, never-ending onslaught? Privacy isn't the enemy of public service. It's really the foundation that allows someone to serve effectively and with strength. You cannot expect someone to give their all to the public if you strip away every last shred of their private dignity. Meghan's request was not unreasonable. It was, quite simply, human. And here's the hypocrisy that Owen indirectly touched on. The British public had no issue at all when Prince William and Kate Middleton demanded privacy from the press and paparazzi. When William took legal action against French magazines for publishing topless photos of Kate, the press and public rallied to their side, supporting their right to privacy. The coverage was overwhelmingly sympathetic, with supportive headlines and journalists defending the royal couple's privacy in the media. It's a clear example of double standards in how privacy is respected, depending on who is asking for it. When William and Kate retreated to their countryside home in Norfolk, shielded from constant intrusion, no one accused them of rubbing people the wrong way. But when Meghan and Harry drew similar boundaries, suddenly they were painted as ungrateful, selfish, and fame-hungry. That's the very double standard that truly reveals the racial undertones of their coverage. If the press had actually treated Meghan the same as her sister-in-law, Owen Jones would never have needed to publicly call out racism in the first place. But there's another layer here that Lizzie Cundy's argument ignores, one that's often overlooked in these debates. The institution of royalty itself is steeped in contradiction and complexity. Royals are expected to serve the public and represent national values, but at the same time, they live lives of immense privilege, luxury, and inherited wealth. They are simultaneously public figures, always in the spotlight, and private individuals seeking personal boundaries. Every royal, from the Queen to Princess Anne, has faced that tension. But Meghan was singled out for criticism, because she dared to speak openly about it. She said mental health matters. She said the toll of press intrusion was too heavy. She dared to redefine what it truly meant to serve, not as a silent, smiling mannequin, but as a woman with a voice, her own opinions, and clear boundaries. For a monarchy built on silence and spectacle, that was, frankly, threatening to many. And instead of reckoning with the outdated expectations of the institution, the press unfairly made Meghan the scapegoat. Owen Jones's intervention in that conversation reminds us of something crucial. When we see relentless negativity directed at one person, especially in the media, we must always pause and ask ourselves why that is. Why was Meghan, out of all the royals, given the harshest press coverage and relentless attention from the media? Why was she scrutinized and targeted to a degree that no one else in the royal family ever faced before? The answer, as Owen bravely said, lies in one undeniable factor: race. The media's treatment of Meghan was shaped not just by her actions, but by who she is. They could not tolerate a black woman marrying into Britain's most visible family, and tried to put her in her place. They wielded caricatures, stereotypes, and exaggerated scandals to undermine her. And the public, fed on those narratives, were encouraged to dislike her before they even had the chance to know her. Defending Meghan in this context isn't about ignoring her privilege as a duchess or her status. It's about recognizing that privilege does not erase or cancel out prejudice. Yes, Meghan entered a wealthy and powerful family. Yes, she gained a platform and a voice that few others have. But privilege does not inoculate anyone against racism, misogyny, or targeted harassment. In fact, her high visibility only amplified the attacks against her. Her very existence as a duchess of mixed heritage was honestly revolutionary, and the backlash she faced was equally fierce. That is why Owen's honesty cut through so sharply. He reminded the audience that what Meghan faced was not normal scrutiny. It was, in fact, racially charged hostility disguised as journalism. So when Lizzie Cundy says Meghan rubbed people up the wrong way, I have to disagree. I say no, Meghan did not rub people the wrong way at all. The press instead rubbed their own prejudice into the public narrative, shaping opinions until, well, ordinary people genuinely thought they disliked Meghan for her actions, when in fact, they were disliking her for how she was unfairly framed by the media.